The Senior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill gives county commissioners the power to propose county road plans and to enter into intergovernmental agreements with the Commissioner of Highways for completion of road and bridge construction. Should a plan or a project be approved by the Commissioner of Highways, the County Commission must hold a public referendum at the next primary or general election to be held, explaining the project and the proposed tax to be used in the construction, either on as a pay-as-you-go or to secure financing for special revenue bonds. Should both the Commissioner of Highways approve and the majority of voters vote to approve the county road project, the county enters into an order identifying the project and establishing a county transportation sales and use tax not to exceed 1%. Counties are authorized to impose county transportation and use taxes administered by the tax department provisions and are made for the issuance of bonds for either county roads or bridge projects by the Economic Development Authority. Their approval.
Questions on passage of the bill? Is there discussion? Senator from Greenbrier.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the senator would yield, please, just fast.
Senator yields. Senator from Greenbrier.
I wasn't on finance, of course, and I've heard this one discussed some. I'm concerned, what happens if, who's responsible if a county cannot meet their debt obligation in this?
Well, actually, I was listening to the attorney, but I would absolutely agree. If you buy a bond, or if a bond is purchased by the bond purchaser, they're assuming the risk in the sense that they may or may not receive their coupon interest or their final maturity date return of their investment. So that's true with all bonds that are issued.
And I guess the follow-up on that would be then the state does not become obligated to pay those bonds at some point. It's a purely county debt. It's a pure county debt.
Like a TIF project that we've talked about, for a little while on the floor. When they're basically a revenue bond that's issued by this group of counties, or as I read there, an intergovernmental agreements. In other words, a region, and I understand that the region that's looking at this is up in the Morgantown area.
I understand that.
And I've received communications from important people from the Morgantown area about this particular bill, and in their effort to put together this sort of an intergovernmental agreement, so they would issue revenue bonds, and the assumption would be that those bonds would be stable and solid and rated fairly well and would be sold. Otherwise, people are not going to buy them if they don't think they'll get their money back. So,
in the state, how many regions, and you may not be able to answer this, and how many regions in our state would be capable of doing this, you think?
You're correct. I hopefully many, 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 many in the future.
Okay.
As our economy just explodes with
well, that's a nice answer.
With new activity based on what's been going on the past couple of years. So there should be, several of them. But I don't know, Senator. I really don't.
Okay. And finally, this is not an attempt in any way.
Maybe Greenbrier County,
I don't think we can.
Okay.
This is, I would hope we could, but I don't think we can. This is not an attempt in any way to turn road building over to county funding in any sort of way.
No, not in a wholesale fashion. It does, provide a structure, given the fact that highway funding is, as you know, Senator, on this floor, what we did for highway funding, but it didn't get to final passage. But it's an opportunity for circumstances like this that may exist for these intergovernmental agreements to actually situation in their own hands and do something about it in a situation.
And the way I understand this, in my simple terms, this is kind of a home rule TIF bill in a way. Would that be what we
It's
could
not
call
what
it?
it's called, but
No.
that might not be a bad idea. It's
Okay.
letting our counties act locally is the title of the bill.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further discussion? Senator from Montague.
Will the gentleman continue to yield, please?
Senator yields. Senator from Montague.
Almost would like him to yield to me, but all right, go ahead.
We're all curious what this thing is on your lapel there.
I'm sorry. Oh, I should take that off. I was having some fun. I got something in the mail, and
But sir, I do have a couple serious
sure.
questions for you in regards to
Okay.
bonding, and I'm going to yield to your expertise in that. Typically in a bond scenario like this, once this is adopted through the referendum mechanism, how long would it take to actually get into the bond market and start moving forward with this
oh
type of
boy, that's a
project?
good question. You know, involved in a bond issuance is usually there. I believe we've actually have a couple of attorneys in here who have actually done these, but they have to get the bond covenants together, I think they're called, and they have to do all the publishing documents and so forth and public notice. And then there comes a day where they're issued, and usually it's they can be privately, so much of it can be privately distributed. I know that there's a company here in Cruz and Company that does a lot of West Virginia bond deals, and they send them out to the bond market. Bond funds buy them, and local citizens buy them as they're available.
So we could be talking maybe 8, 10, 12 months?
Oh, I would think so, yeah. It doesn't happen overnight.
So now, walk me through the referendum part of it. What kind of time frame are we talking here? You mentioned the next primary or general election, I believe. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would assume that if the county commission had a plan in place and wanted to put that before the voters, not the next primary or next general election could be used. I doubt this primary, which is pretty close, but perhaps the next general election would be the time that they could put that before the voters.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay.
If Mr. President, if I may continue.
Okay.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise in favor of this piece of legislation, although I do believe it has a little a weak link, if you want to call it, in regards to the language and placing this on the ballot. I think any county, even especially my county, and I could have spoke to this yesterday, I guess, during the amendment stage, but I think even my county would have a hard time responding and even getting something on the general election. I think that's where, in fact, the weak link lies, because this is creating another tool in the toolbox, but it's really not a good tool, let's say. We're probably talking still 3 years out before we can actually start even potentially seriously start breaking ground on projects in our area. And in Mon County, projects are long overdue in regards to opening up roadways and new bridges across the area. But I do encourage you to go ahead and move forward, vote this. It's a tool of some sorts. It may be the only tool we take back home that we can talk about. There are some other communities in this state that can use this. Huntington's probably one, definitely Parkersburg and the Wheeling area. But definitely, I would urge your endorsement of this issue.
Further discussion? If not, the question for the Senate, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed vote nay. The clerk prepare the machine. Senator from Preston. Has every member voted? If so, clerk close the machine. Ascertain the results on this question. 28 yeas, 6 nays, 0 absent, not voting. More than the majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed.